Hello and welcome to today's video on Jurassic Report. I'm Zach, and in today's video I'm going to talk about 3 reasons why you need to go attend the Jurassic World Live Tour. Overall, it's an awesome show, but before we dive into those 3 reasons, I'm just going to give like a 3-line review of this event. I don't want to dive too far into a review because I do want to do a full review kind of down the line a little, but I wanted to get this video made because if you are on the fence about seeing this, I want to do what I can to make sure to convince you to go attend it because it is an awesome event. Some of the acting is over the top, or all the acting rather is over the top. It's kind of reminds me, I don't really watch wrestling or anything, but it kind of reminds me of wrestling where everything is exaggerated and over the top. But it is still good. And I'll get into why I think it's really good with my 3 reasons. But it is overall a good event that I do highly recommend. At the time of recording this, there were events pretty much packed throughout 2020, from essentially June through November. Every weekend has an event, as far as I could tell. There might be one weekend that is open, but for the most part, it looked packed. Before June, March, April, May look a little bit light, but that's probably too soon to squeeze in more events. But at the bottom of the page, they do mention that additional tour dates to be announced soon, and they give a list of states. Quite a few states are in that list, probably too many to squeeze in, so it looks like Jurassic World Live Tour will still continue until 2021 because the last event is on December the 10th through the 13th. They could squeeze a couple more events in December, but like I said, pretty much from June to November, it's pretty much packed. At the bottom where they do mention more dates are to be announced, they do only mention states that are in the U.S., so I don't know how likely it will be that this will make the transit across overseas. And some of these animatronics are rather large, so that would be very costly to get those overseas. But regardless, it would be cool to still, if you're a fan over in like the UK or somewhere in Europe, to have the chance, or even elsewhere in the world, to have a chance to view this. But anyways, it does still look like there are quite a few showings, more showings to come. So there is still a good chance if you watch this video and you maybe skipped one that was closer to you, maybe there is one that's still within a decent drive. Alright, so after that, it is now time to get to the 3 reasons why you need to see the Jurassic World Live Tour. I'll go ahead and admit my first point is kind of cheap and obvious, but that first point is your kids love dinosaurs. I have 3 boys now. Of course, the youngest is only a couple months old, so he stayed at my mom's while we went to the show. But my 2 older boys are 5 and 6, and they absolutely loved it. They both love dinosaurs, especially the oldest boy. He is absolutely fanatical about dinosaurs and loves Jurassic Park and Jurassic World. And this was a awesome event. The dinosaurs look great. The smaller dinosaurs like Blue and Genie, who is a Troodon, which we'll get to here in a little bit, they're kind of manned by puppeteers. The bigger dinosaurs are animatronics. And overall, the dinosaurs looked great. I don't really have any complaints there. You know, it is a live show. They don't have movie magic where they kind of touch up some of these animatronics and, you know, costumes after the fact. Moving on to our second point, which took a little bit more thought, and that is this is an extension to JP lore. So to get to absorb this content, the only way to actually see it and watch it and enjoy it is to physically go to the live tour into one of the event centers near you, if there is one in the list. So with that being said, you know, honestly, I don't think this type of content would even translate well to video. Like I already said, some of the aspects are, you know, so-so, a little over top, like the acting, you know, it's overly dramatized. The lighting isn't great. The animatronics are good, but you don't have that kind of movie special effects where they kind of touch up the animatronics or they frame the animatronics in a certain way, you know. But it's a great thing in a live event, but translating that to video, I don't think it would really translate to video very well at all. So with that, all that being said, it's something that you almost have to be there to kind of truly enjoy it and to get as much from it as, you know, as you potentially could. With the conclusion of that point, we are led to our final discussion point, and that is the live tour is a great extension to the Jurassic universe and adds some very interesting pieces to the storyline. Before we dive into all that though, we do have a big discussion on soft canon. And this is something that I want to talk about deeper, and we'll probably do a separate video on this sometime in the future. But in an Instagram story recently, or I guess it's not so recently anymore, but Colin Trevorrow was talking about Jurassic World Live Tour. I don't remember the exact context anymore, but essentially the big thing that I took away from that, and a lot of people from the community took away from his Instagram story, is that the Jurassic World Live Tour is quote unquote soft canon. And what exactly does that mean? And I know a lot of people in the community are wishing for something that like Marvel did with the MCU, but even Marvel isn't perfect. We have entire shows on Netflix that use those Marvel characters that are not canon as far as the MCU goes. So, no franchise out there is perfect. Universal definitely hasn't done the best job, but they've done a decent job. And in my opinion, kind of watch what you want to watch, and as long as it doesn't directly conflict with the, movie universe, kind of consider it your own part of canon. And even though Jurassic World Live Tour isn't officially part of the movie canon, I think it does still add to the Jurassic universe and add some cool new storylines that we really haven't touched on before in the Jurassic universe. And that's why I think even if you don't have kids and maybe the live form of content isn't the best for you, maybe you don't like plays and things along those lines either, there is still a valid reason to attend, and that is because it does have a decent storyline. When you take away kind of the over-the-top acting and everything along those lines, it does add to the Jurassic universe. And I'm going to cover that here in this next part and kind of give you the big points that it does add to the universe. So if you haven't seen this and you want to see it, maybe don't listen to this next part, because it might have some spoilers that might make the event not as enjoyable for you. I try not to be too much of a spoil. Kind of will retain most of that for my review of the event and make sure I label that a spoiler. But just a warning, if you don't want to kind of have any knowledge of the event before going, maybe you just stop listening here and take away the point that it does have some interesting points that it adds to the storyline that I definitely enjoyed, even though it might be quote unquote soft canon. Now that you have been warned that we are entering into spoiler territory, I want to go over some of the pieces from the storyline that I felt were interesting additions to the Jurassic universe. The first is kind of the foundation for a couple other talking points, and that is the fact that part of the storyline takes place at another dinosaur research station on Jurassic World. So this is very interesting. It's kind of similar but also dissimilar to what we see with Owen and the raptors. Rather than working with the raptors and trying to learn how if they can be trained and made obedient and take orders, this second dinosaur research station, which is led by Dr. Kate Walker, is a more scientific research station. It's kind of going at the angle of kind of trying to learn through science how dinosaurs think and feel and trying to decipher that. It uses a device called the Dino Decoder, which we'll get to here in a little bit. And Dr. Kate Walker works with a dinosaur named Genie, who is a Troodon, which is another interesting talking point. So the fact that there's another dinosaur research station makes 100% sense once you kind of think about it. There is a vast swath of Nublar, which is completely off limits. So if you look at the map from the first movie, about the top third of the map is the restricted area. Obviously, part of that would be for Mount Sibo, if they were worried about that. But there is still a large portion of that area that is just as far away from Mount Sibo as some of the exhibits are. So possibly that right-hand side of the restricted area could be filled with different research stations. You could have more than just Owen and Dr. Walker. You could have potentially more research stations in the future. And I think that is interesting, an interesting route to take that. And having this like super scientific research station is very cool. It is definitely cool to see Masrani kind of taking that approach to kind of learning more about the dinosaurs and not just having them purely as, zoo exhibits, but trying to learn more about how they might have thought and how they might have, their emotions and things along those lines, even if these aren't 100% true dinosaurs because you have missing pieces of the genome. I think it is still interesting that the science would have been something that could have been done on Jurassic World. Moving from there, we're going to talk about Genie the Troodon. It's very cool to see a Troodon in the Jurassic World universe. Of course, we have seen Troodons before. They are in the Jurassic Park the game. This Troodon is a lot different. She's much more docile, I guess. She, of course, is still a dinosaur and is still very dangerous. But the Troodons from Jurassic Park the game, and it has been a while since I've played that, but those, from my memory, had like a venomous bite and were much more like creatures of the dark. and were much more aggressive, I guess, is what I'm trying to get at. But it is cool to see, another dinosaur species kind of have a focus for a little while and not entirely focusing on raptors or, the T-Rex or something along those lines as the focal point for a Jurassic, storyline. Moving on from there, we have the Dino Decoder. This uses kind of like a EEG, I think is what they're called. But it roughly translates the dinosaur's thoughts and emotions, what the dinosaur is feeling, to a device that they can, utilize to learn, what actions makes the dinosaur feel a certain way. So I think that's definitely cool that science was being done and learning more about how dinosaurs, think and feel. So, and the Dino Decoder is definitely a cool device to kind of have added to the Jurassic universe. Finally, the last point I want to talk about here is another interesting thing, which is bioluminescent stegosauruses. So sometime during the storyline, we encounter some bioluminescent stegosaurs to make these stegosaurs, glow in the dark at night. It's kind of off the cuff. It's a little crazy, but it was still cool to see, and cool to see like how Wu and his scientists were kind of making kind of a unique dinosaur, but that wasn't just a crazy hybrid like we have with the Indominus or the Indoraptor. So just another cool, interesting piece that I thought added something to the Jurassic universe, because clearly Wu, and then when they're working on their genetic experimentation, that the Indominus wasn't the only thing that they're working on, as they're working on, using genetics to build these kind of hybrid dinosaurs. And I know a lot of people aren't super big fans of hybrid dinosaurs. They just want to see them as they were, as at least we currently think dinosaurs currently were, 65 million plus years ago. But I think it is just kind of cool to show maybe like a stepping stone, because going straight from, as close as we can get to a T-Rex to the Indominus Rex is a pretty big jump. But kind of having that Stegosaurus in the middle, where they just had it 99.5% Stegosaur, but had maybe just a little bit jellyfish, where it has the bioluminescent traits, I think that is cool and kind of fills some of the gaps in that storyline of, where their experimentation kind of came from and where it led. So all in all, I loved it. I thought it had some very cool, interesting aspects. My kids absolutely loved it. They want to go back again, although there is an event, as far as I can tell, that is anywhere close to us again. But if there is an event showing, maybe even on the other side of Missouri or somewhere close to Kansas City, I will try my best to go there again. And I definitely think that if you have a chance, you should definitely check it out, because it is a great addition to the Jurassic universe. And that's pretty much my conclusion for this video. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you took something away from it. And until next time, Zach out.